Number 10. 1960 Ford Edsel Ranger. Few automotive failures in American history are as legendary as the Edsel. By the time the 1960 model arrived, Ford had already stripped away the controversial horse-collar grille that made the original version distinctive, leaving a car that looked almost identical to a standard Ford Fairlane, with no compelling reason for buyers to choose it. Ford produced only 2,846 units of the 1960 model before pulling the plug entirely, and the whole Edsel program cost the company more than $250 million, the equivalent of over $2.6 billion today. Build quality made a bad situation worse. Dealers received cars in such poor condition that they had to spend their own resources making them presentable before delivery, which is a clear sign of systemic failure, not just of product, but of management. The standard 2-speed Milo-matic transmission drew constant complaints for sluggish shifts and jerky performance, reinforcing the perception of an unfinished car. Production ended on November 19, 1959, just 5 weeks after the 1960 models went on sale. The Edsel remains one of the most studied examples of how not to launch a vehicle in automotive history.
Number 9. 1961 Chrysler Newport. The 1961 Chrysler Newport was meant to serve as the brand's entry-level full-size offering, but it arrived carrying the same awkward reverse slant fins found across Chrysler's entire lineup that year, a styling direction that buyers had already begun rejecting. Underneath the styling problems, quality control was a persistent concern. Electrical systems failed with regularity, body panels were susceptible to rapid corrosion, particularly around the complex fin structures, and assembly consistency fell well short of what buyers expected at that price point. The 361 and 383 cubic inch V8 engines were mechanically sound, but they couldn't compensate for the Newport's broader shortcomings. These cars depreciated quickly, and the model became a symbol of Chrysler's resistance to acknowledging shifting market preferences during a critical period. Number 8. 1962 Plymouth Fury. The 1962 Plymouth Fury was the result of one of the most damaging miscalculations in American automotive history. Chrysler leadership made the decision to aggressively downsize their full-size cars based on research that turned out to be fundamentally flawed, exactly when competitors were moving toward larger, more imposing designs. The result was a car that looked awkward, underdeveloped, and out of proportion, pushing loyal Plymouth buyers straight into rival dealerships. Beyond the controversial design, the Fury suffered from real structural and quality issues. Its new unibody construction introduced weaknesses that led to body flex, constant rattles, and even water leaks, problems that directly impacted the ownership experience. Rust developed quickly, electrical reliability was inconsistent, and the overall build felt noticeably inferior compared to what General Motors and Ford were offering at similar price points. Number 7. 1975 Chrysler Imperial. By 1975, the Chrysler Imperial had every possible disadvantage working against it, and most of them were self-inflicted. This massive flagship stretched over 230 inches and weighed close to 5,000 pounds, powered by a 440 cubic inch V8 that delivered fuel economy deep into the single digits. That alone would already be a problem, but the timing made it worse. It arrived in the shadow of the 1973 oil crisis, when fuel efficiency had suddenly become a top priority for American consumers. The design didn't help either. It looked like a leftover from the late 1960s, completely out of sync with where the market was heading. Reliability issues only deepened the damage. Owners reported frequent electrical failures, inconsistent paint quality, and mechanical problems that felt unacceptable for a car positioned as Chrysler's ultimate luxury statement. By the end of the model year, Chrysler had no choice but to discontinue the Imperial entirely, not as a strategic move, but as a retreat. The nameplate would return 6 years later, but this moment had already made something clear. Chrysler wasn't just behind, it was reacting to a market it no longer understood.
Number 6.
1976 Cadillac DeVille. The 1976 Cadillac DeVille was the last full expression of GM's supersized luxury philosophy before the brand's successful downsizing program arrived for 1977. Stretching 230.7 inches and riding on a 130-inch wheelbase, the DeVille was powered by the massive 500 cubic inch V8, an engine that averaged less than 9 miles per gallon for most owners during the height of the energy crisis. At over $9,000, expectations were understandably high. Those expectations were frequently unmet. Electrical system faults, from inoperative power windows to malfunctioning lighting, were among the most common complaints. Cooling system failures, including overheating and coolant leaks, were widely reported. Transmission concerns and suspension faults added to the ownership burden. For a car carrying the Cadillac name at a premium price, the inconsistency in materials and build quality left many buyers questioning what they had actually paid for. The dramatically improved 1977 model only made the 1976's shortcomings more apparent in retrospect. Number 5. 1981-1983 Chrysler Imperial. Chrysler's revival of the Imperial nameplate for 1981 was an ambitious move. The company attempted to position it as a standalone luxury brand capable of going head-to-head with Cadillac and Lincoln. The reality was far less impressive. The Imperial was constructed on the same K-Car platform used for the economy-focused Dodge Aries and Plymouth Reliant, a foundation that made the luxury pretensions difficult to sustain regardless of how much trim was added. The problems were apparent from the first deliveries. The digital dashboard, marketed as cutting-edge technology, was unreliable. Screens flickered, went dark, and required frequent replacement. The electronic voice alert system either stayed silent when warnings were needed or activated without cause. Water leaks, premature paint failure, and inconsistent assembly quality were widespread owner complaints. Most damaging of all was the car's footprint. It was smaller than many mid-size sedans, yet carried a luxury price. Chrysler sold only 12,385 units in 1981. Production ended after 3 model years with total sales under 16,000. Number 4. 1985-1987 Cadillac DeVille. When Cadillac redesigned the DeVille for 1985, the plan was to bring the brand into the modern era with a sleek front-wheel drive platform. What arrived instead was a car that had been trimmed by 2 feet and 600 pounds from its predecessor, and that shared its body and platform so visibly with the Oldsmobile 98 and Buick Electra that buyers had difficulty telling them apart at a glance. Paying Cadillac prices for what looked like a rebadged GM corporate product didn't sit well with the brand's traditional customer base. The mechanical picture was equally frustrating. The 4.1-liter V8 was widely considered underpowered for a car in this class. Alternators failed repeatedly, cooling sensors and fan control modules were known problem areas, and the digital instrument cluster produced erratic readings that left owners unsure whether to trust their gauges. Power accessories cut in and out without warning, and overall build quality fell short of what the Cadillac badge had historically represented. This generation did lasting damage to Cadillac's reputation for quality and prestige that took years to recover.
Number 3. 1984-1989 Chrysler Fifth Avenue. The Chrysler Fifth Avenue of the mid-1980s was a luxury car built on a foundation that dated back to 1976, the same platform shared with the Dodge Aspen and Plymouth Valera. Padded vinyl roofs and button-tufted interiors gave it a premium appearance, but beneath the surface, the Fifth Avenue carried all the mechanical baggage of its problematic ancestry. The transverse torsion bar front suspension wore unevenly and promoted premature tire wear that required constant alignment attention. The 318 cubic inch V8 used a plastic timing chain gear that was a known failure point, capable of causing significant engine damage without warning.
The 7.25-inch rear axle was considered undersized for the vehicle and was prone to failure even under ordinary driving conditions. Chrysler's feedback carburetor system caused rough idling, cold start difficulties, and hesitation under acceleration that were notoriously hard to diagnose and resolve permanently. Number 2. 1980 to 1985 Pontiac Bonneville. The Pontiac Bonneville had earned a strong reputation over 2 decades as one of GM's most respected nameplates, which made the 1980 through 1985 generation all the more disappointing. The downsized Bonneville arrived with a range of powertrain options that collectively failed to inspire confidence. The 4.1-liter V6 was prone to head gasket failures that led to overheating and expensive engine damage, and it idled roughly enough to raise doubts about long-term durability from the moment of purchase. Transmission problems were a constant theme, with torque converter failures occurring under normal use. Electrical gremlins, failing components, wiring faults, and dashboard malfunctions kept dealers busy with complaints they often struggled to resolve definitively. For buyers who selected the optional Oldsmobile diesel engine, the problems were even more severe, with reliability failures that left owners stranded with regularity. Number 1. 1979 through 1981 Chrysler New Yorker. At the top of our list sits the 1979 through 1981 Chrysler New Yorker, a car that arrived at the worst possible moment and delivered on almost none of its promises. Built on the R-body platform, this was Chrysler's final attempt at a traditional full-size luxury sedan before the company's financial collapse. The timing was catastrophic. The second oil crisis was underway, and the New Yorker's thirsty V8 averaged around 12 miles per gallon in city driving. The reliability record matched the poor timing. Hidden headlights operated by a vacuum system were known to malfunction and remained stuck in the open position. The early computer-controlled carburetor system, marketed as advanced technology, left owners stranded with frustrating regularity. Transmission failures, electrical faults, and inconsistent assembly quality generated a wave of negative word of mouth that the market simply couldn't ignore. Sales reflected the damage clearly, from over 13,500 units in 1980 down to just 6,500 in 1981.